Okay. Take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. We can feel that there is a potential within us. We can also feel that this potential wants to be expressed. We can see that in the world, everyone is hurting in some way, and that pain is making them do crazy conditions, and those causes can be let go of. New causes and conditions can be initiated or taken up that are wise, skillful, nobly worthy of an awakened being. This will then lead to a life of freedom and true authentic happiness. A life that expresses that potential we can feel within us. I want you to imagine that world of potential now. Imagine a life of freedom. Imagine a world where everyone is free and truly happy. What does that world look like? What does that world feel like? And how would you think, speak, and act in that world? To help us actualize that potential, we call out now to the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, masters, and teachers of the Dharma of the 3 times and the 10 directions. Please consider us with kindness and understanding, and grant us your blessings that these aspirations may be accomplished quickly. May it be that we all swiftly achieve enlightenment for the sake of all beings. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Breathe out through the mouth. And come back to us here. So today's is on right effort. Right effort. Have any of you heard of a term called Hiroshi? Yeah. Hiroshi? So just Chris? Yeah. So Hiroshi roughly translates from Japanese as worked to death. Or sometimes they call the people that are caught in this cycle salarymen, salary people. And my buddy, he lives in Japan now. And we were talking a couple of weeks back, and I was like, so like, is this for real? Hiroshi, like people working themselves to death? And he was like, yeah, man. Yeah, it's for real. He's like, it's the part of the culture here. It's crazy, right? One of the most recent sort of big ticket things like that brought, like it go in Japan, it comes into the media and then sort of goes back. It's like Japan's secret shame almost, right? A 31-year-old woman logged 159 hours of overtime and took only 2 days off in the month leading up to her death from heart failure in July of 2013. 159 hours of overtime. And in some places for your work, it's not only like do you have to be there super early and it's expected you to work late, but you're expected to go out and socialize afterwards to build contacts, to build connections. It's this vicious cycle. Hiroshi, work to death. Crazy. In general, overtime is something that is accepted as part of work, and protest against it is rare. It's because of the culture there, due to the concern for reactions from the colleagues, superiors, and even family and friends. It's looked down upon to say anything against working hard, anything against doing this overtime. And people fear the public gaze, right? The gaze, like they would look upon you scornfully, shamefully, right? And that they're very concerned about other people's opinions and how they're perceived within society. And it's a strong cultural factor, just like working, right? And we fall into this trap, right? We fall into this trap. And the Buddha fell into this trap. When he first went onto the path, he went crazy. Crazy in regards to like this crazy stuff that he kept trying. He was trying so hard, he almost killed himself. There's a story like one point upon the road, they thought he was dead because he was emaciated, he was all brown and gray. He almost died in a pond. He couldn't get out. And then finally something, maybe this isn't working. Maybe this isn't the way. Maybe I shouldn't be abusing my body, pushing it to these extremes. Extremes. And so the story goes is that he then sort of like dragged himself up, sat in front of a tree, and a young girl came by. I thought he was a tree spirit because he was the same, like this color, against the tree. And she was like, whoa, like, and made offerings to him, right, for blessings. So he ate that food, and he started to get a little stronger, and ate some more, and started to get a little stronger, right? His buddies, his close circle, right, of ascetics, saw what was going on. They were like, oh, Siddhartha has given up. Look at him. Lounging about, having food, enjoying himself under that tree. Wow, right? Guy almost died. They held him in high regard when he was doing that crazy stuff. And the minute that he ratcheted it back, oh, look at him. Lazy. Right? But we see that in our own life, right? Or maybe we have that in the back of our own mind. That rest, recovery, renewal, not pushing to extremes, that means I don't care. I'm not serious. Right? We have this script going on. Right? Right effort is not those things. Not those. Right? Yes, life. Sometimes you need to go for it. You need to go for it. Now, we live in a culture of exhaustion, right? It's crazy. That it's a badge of honor to say that we're working all this overtime and then we got the bags under the eyes and we hold it up like a badge, right? We have phrases like no pain, no gain. Right? Got to work hard and sacrifice. Long hours, yeah. Exhaustion, badges of honor. But like, the body is a magical thing. It'll let you do that for a while, right? Who's pushed themselves to exhaustion? I know I have. Right? Everybody. Right? No. The body is amazing that it'll get you. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Right? And then we'll come to a point where it's like, okay, 3 cups of coffee is what it needs, right? 3 cups. All right. I need this, that, right? No. So, there's the story of Sona. Sona was the son of a rich businessman. His life was one of wealth and luxury. His passion was to listen to and play the lute. He had heard that the Buddha was staying nearby to where he lived, and that a great spiritual master was giving talks on happiness that is found from non-attachment to worldly desires. Sona went and listened to the Buddha, and was so moved by the discourse that he asked to be ordained as a monk right there on the spot. After becoming a monk, he was initially taught to be constantly mindful in everything that he did. And in particular, they did a lot of walking. Right? Walking was one of the main practices. Sona was like, what's that, A-type? Is it A-type? Just was like, yeah, I'm going to get this done. Let's see enlightenment. I'm going to get it. It's mine. Right? Ooh! Right? And he took to the teachings, right? Every day he could be found walking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth through the monastery, right? Because I can't imagine. Like, it must have been a frantic ordeal, right? Yeah, two extremes. And then he eventually developed blisters. Painful, crazy blisters, right? Because they didn't have Nike shoes and super ultra padding and everything like this back then, right? Can't imagine 2,500 years ago the aesthetically pleasing and sensible footwear that they had available to them, but probably not very good. He was constantly in pain. And that pain made him feel further and further away from his goal and became disheartened. It's like, it's not going to happen. If I put all that effort and I'm not even close, I'm even worse off than I was before I joined, I'm definitely not cut out for this, is what he was thinking, right? The Buddha heard about Sona and about his craziness, and that he was like disheartened and was about to check out. So he went to visit him. Sona, he said, I have heard that you're not getting good results from your practice of mindfulness and want to return back to normal life. Suppose I explain why you didn't get good results. Would you stay on as a monk and try again? Yeah, for sure. Sona, you were a musician and you played the lute. Tell me, did you produce good music when the lute strings were well tuned? Neither too tight nor too loose? Yeah, of course. Beautiful music. What happened when the strings were wound too tight? I couldn't produce any music, anything appealing to the ear. And what about when the strings were too loose, too slack? The same. I couldn't. Sona, do you now see why you did not experience the happiness that you seek? You have been straining too hard in your meditation. Do it in a relaxed way, but without being slack. Try it again, and you will experience good results. And the story goes, he did. He healed his feet, and then he found that Goldilocks spot. But I don't know, maybe it's like something within us that we need to push these limits and boundaries of ourselves in order so that we can experience, whoa, that is not healthy. So that we can come back to a mid-ground, to a midpoint, where the strings are not too tight and the strings are not too loose. Just that. So we can make beautiful music. And our life is that beautiful music. Our life. When we're right in that Goldilocks spot, frantic is not a word that comes up. Right? Frazzled, no. It's like a stability, right? An ease, right? One of my favorite phrases, 2 words together, effortless ease, right? Is that a lot of times some people think that being in the practice will sort of make you lazy or something like this, right? And it's weird. Like, I get way more done in my life right now. And one, because I have this clarity, like we talked about earlier, non-distraction, and like I'm in tune with myself. I know when I can push hard and when I need to ease back. When I can push hard, ease back, right? And that if I find myself going into out of balance, and the strings are too tight, then I make sure, right? And be okay, and that's the other crazy thing, is that like we are not okay saying no. We think we're gonna let the whole universe down. Like everything in life is going to come to a screeching halt if we say no. Right? Being stable in your practice helps you be stable in your life in such a way that you have a clarity and that you have a compassion for yourself so that you're okay with saying no. You're okay with disappointing the world. Because you're hurting. Come back again to the first point, right? You can see yourself. You can feel the practice coming back, right? I remember I was studying with two Tibetan teachers, sort of like almost right after each other. And the first teaching from both of them was like, come back to the body. 5 minutes ago, frantic. Right effort. Maybe you need to get to that point. Even the Buddha, he had to get to that point. Oh my God. Almost dying, right? Almost dying to be like, this is not the way. After he healed up a little bit too, he even thought he had this sort of like a memory arose in him of when he was young. And it was a beautiful spring day. His father it was like a celebration that was going on, a blessing sort of ceremony for the fields. And so usually Siddhartha, when he was a boy, he was like, had lots of attendants around him, but for this particular day, they sort of forgot about him and they were like sort of paying attention to the festivities. And he says that like, in this day, the beautiful, like that Goldilocks of weather, of breeze, they left me alone, and I slipped into, they called it the first jhana of the meditative stability and clarity. And he remembered this. Just that ease, that latent joy was coming up for no particular reason. Clarity, peace of mind and body. And he thought, whoa, is this the way? Is this how I should be going about my practice? And then like just like a inner wisdom's like, yeah, buddy, stop being such a weirdo and trying to kill yourself in order to achieve enlightenment. Those weren't like the exact, but you know what I mean, right? Yeah. That like beautiful, just picture that setting, right? A beautiful spring day that, because you know that sun in spring isn't too hot, it's just right. You've been trapped indoors all winter. It's been hard, dark. You know that feeling. Oh, just that ease. Just everything just melts away. Right? Everything. And you know when you're in that state, whatever. Right? The day before, you could have been losing your mind over something. You're in that state? Yeah, okay. We'll get it done. There's a grace. Right? Assured, right? You know it's going to get done. Whatever needs to get done. But you do not need to do it in a frantic manner. In a manner that you're out of control. Where you're out of control. The Buddha said, in regards to right effort, it's just like an easy point, something. He was like, maintain your health. Be joyful, and don't force yourself to do the things you cannot do. Which means, ask for help. How many times are we asking for help in a day? That's a vulnerable state. I need help. Guys, can you help me? How many times have we looked at our family and said, I need help? I need help. It's too much. I'm tired. Right? That's a vulnerable place to be. And we're not taught to be vulnerable. We're not shown that vulnerability is a path of connection and openness. And there's this huge strength in vulnerability and being open and honest with ourselves, with each other. Right effort, there's like most teachings just like scooch over right effort. But there's all this stuff to unpack within it. Right? What would the culture think? What do my family think? What do friends think? Are you be letting them down? No, we have to come back to ourselves. Right? We're lay practitioners. So we're going to be always doing something. Right? We work. We got to work. Got to pay the bills. Right? But is there a different way to do it that is a little bit more wholesome? Right? A little less frantic? In some presentations of right effort, they talk about the 4 great endeavors. And we've sort of talked about them throughout, leading up to this. To prevent the arising of unwholesome states. Like if you're going to put effort into something, okay, put effort into preventing the arising of unwholesome states. To abandoning, letting go of unwholesome states that have already arisen. To arouse, develop, and cultivate wholesome states that have not yet arisen. And to maintain and perfect wholesome states that are already arisen. Right? In the next series, like working with the 4 immeasurables and the other practices that we're going to go through, that helps us like develop, cultivate, right? And another time, some of the teachings in the 3rd Noble Truth, they talk about like that it's possible, right? So there's moments in your life where you have that under the tree on a spring day feeling in moments. Maybe you guys on vacation, right? Right? Mm-hmm. In those moments, and they happen, and they even happen all throughout your day. But they're maybe brief, or we don't value them because we're so caught up going, doing. There's a great word, savor. Savor. And that, since you guys just came back from vacation, this is good because those memories and that sensation, fresh. Play them. Relive them again and again. Perfect for your mind and your body. And so much of our life is just go. We are never here. We're always getting there. Never arrived. Yeah, it's crazy. Right? So in those moments, when you recognize, savor it. Before you go to bed, relive it. Right? Thankful for it. Because when the next day arises, you're going to be at a little bit more ease, which means you're going to show up a little more gracefully in your life. Have a little more space so that you don't react, you're responding. Because you have a clarity. Life isn't just always pushing up to you at red line. Right? Very important. And when you catch yourself pushing the needle forward all the time, you're going to break. It's inevitable. Even the toughest of us is going to break. And I think that's why it's very interesting, right? Even that for the Buddha, he had to go through it too. And the interesting part is that was the gateway. The pain was the gateway for the realization that there's got to be a different way. A little more at ease. with myself, with the world. And he had to deal with the cultural response. He wasn't look at that. Wrote him off. Right? Made fun of him. Thought he was a slacker. Gave up. We're going to get it too. You got to be okay with that. Sometimes you got to educate your family and your friends on what's going on. Right? Because a lot of times we teach our family and friends what to expect from us, what they can take from us. Right? And sometimes when we're like, oh, sorry, no, it's a big shatter for those people's lives. And you're probably going to come into conflict. Who's had that happen? Right? Yeah. But it just, then you bring them close. And this, I'm hurting. Daddy's hurting, mommy's hurting. I'm hurting. I'm tired. I need help. Maybe, can we not do this week? Is this really that important? Your priorities start to shift and change because you're coming back to you. Right? Coming back to you. I think that's pretty much the gist. Okay? We'll do some meditation. Good. Okay. Thank you, everybody.